was taught that if you haven't published your research, you haven't done it. And I really like it. This is the one thing I remembered from these lectures on the first place, and keep that in mind. And if you think about it, really, if you don't publish your research, you can spend resources and time collecting data, writing up, submitting dissertation or whatever it is, but nobody will ever know that you've done it if you don't publish it in a good journal. I'm talking about publishing from editor perspective. So basically sharing my experience with you. So if we talk about the structure of any scientific paper, that would include these sections. There is variety between journals and requirements for different reports. But basically, you choose a title for your journal, for your article, or for your research. Then area, typically at the beginning you write an abstract, short summary. Then you have introduction. Introduction, typically what it does, it starts with the issue. What is the problem? Why to bother? Answering question, why to bother. First 1 or 2 paragraphs, you just say, why to bother to study this? I mean, there is a problem. Maybe not many people notice, but we have this issue, which is not adequately addressed. Addressing is important. Why? And you need to support it by existing body of research. Then you come with all theories about that issue, and look at how other people try to address it, if they did, or what research people did around it, and didn't touch something. And at the end, you have a rationale. Usually it's a final paragraph where you talk about your study. You can say, well, this is a conclusion. I reviewed the literature. I see this is a problem, but this problem was not adequately addressed. And the aim of this study is to address this issue by using novel methodology, or by using different experimental design, or by using different intervention that includes components which were never used before. Kind of this. It's just one paragraph. This is very simple structure of your intro. If you go sidetracked from that, you will lose your points for your dissertation, and you will increase risk of desk rejection of your paper if you submit to the journal. You can see it's the same thing, basically. So on your dissertation, your mark will go down if your introduction is fluffy all over the place. You have to focus and keep on a topic. It's like triangle. Goes from the why to bother, then the theories and research, showing that there are limitations and research is needed, and then at the end you say what you will be doing, which is novel to address that what other people failed or addressed in a limited way. So that's all. Then you go to the method section. Method where you describe what you will be doing exactly. And it typically has 4 sections. You talk about your participants where you collect your data, who they are, and their characteristics. Then you go to a procedure will describe how you collect your data, what you do. Then you have measures, how you measure your outcome. That could be psychometric measures or physiological measures. Then you describe data analysis in a sequence, what you will be doing. You collect your data, what you will be doing with that. What kind of tests you will be using, what you will be comparing. Detailed in a logical way, and say why you're choosing these methods. And prefer these methods compared to other methods. So better to cite some authority paper, or some paper using the same method you used, or paper promoting an alternative method, right? Then after that, you go to the result section. Result section essentially is a reflection of your data analysis section. So your results should be reported exactly in the same order, like they go in your data analysis. So in data analysis, you say at the beginning, you check normality of your data, data distribution, and outliers. You start with reporting these things, not at the end. And so you go that way. That is what I see in many manuscripts we're rejecting, because data analysis section is very brief. They say we use ANOVA, typically, and that's it, or something like that. And then they start with t-tests, and then at the end, somewhere they mention ANOVA. So it's all over the place, and it's not the way research conducted. Typically, you do analysis of variance in the first place, and if you find something significant, then you do a post hoc test. That is violated. So I get skeptical by the paper because I see the authors have no experience in doing statistics. So I will be very cautious with that paper. I will read more carefully and see what exactly they did. And if I get doubt that the research is conducted properly, I can say, okay, so it is an important research topic, and I will say something good about if I find an introduction and method or research topic generally. I can say, so for our journal, unfortunately, we need to prioritize research of the higher quality. We cannot publish all papers. Well, sorry, we cannot accept your manuscript in the present form. Kind of this. We are very polite. We never say something is bad or inaccurate. But if we find inconsistencies or problems or issues, we will mention them so authors can improve their paper. If they submit to a different journal, they make improvements and have more success. So it's a compassionate way of dealing with that. I was in a conference in India recently in Bodh Gaya, and I did a talk on using AI or publishing research in AI era, gave a keynote there, and I've got many queries, and one person came to me and said, during the break, came to me and said, you know, your desk rejected my paper. I said, yes, I desk reject half of them. I said, we desk reject 50%. He said, yes, but my papers were rejected by other journals also, but they usually write 2-3 sentences and say your paper is not fit for the journal and go. But you written such a long letter explaining everything. He said, I was almost crying. He said, thank you for that. It's just almost like a teaching. And it's very polite and kind because I'm not rejecting your paper because I don't like research. It's just, it's not fitting to the level of the journal. And I try to explain why it is not and where the issues are. So it's a good practice doing it that way. So I was very interested. I said, I asked him, so would you resubmit your paper? He said, I'm working on it. So he may send the paper. So he is not offended because he knows why the paper is rejected. It's not just we don't like somebody or discriminating. It is clear we identify issues and say what the issues are. You will not always get these kind of reports, but some journals are really good at that. For example, top journals, I've got a very good desk rejection for my own papers, from top journals as well, from psych-assessment. But in developing my career, I get rejections as well. It is not something to be ashamed of. I remember one of the presentation of the researcher in economy who is one of the top. He was very proud to say that his papers were rejected 600 times. He was really proud, but he's one of the top 1% of the researchers in economy. So because this is a process of peer reviewing, it's a tough process to publish papers, and this is your personal development, because every time a paper is rejected, you get comments, you take them on board, and you learn something. So it's not negative thing in a way. It just shows that you are not fitting, you are just below the bar. You need to be above the bar to publish your research. Of course, different journals have different criteria, and sometimes paper which will not go in a Nature journal, which is one of the top, may go to another journal like Current Psychology, for example. But still, it's still a high impact, it's still Q1. So, discussions usually start with summary of main wow findings, and then you need to say something great what you did, then relate them to the literature and say whether it's consistent or not with the literature, and then you go with the secondary findings. You need to include limitations and future direction. And then you have peer review process. Once you submit it, it goes to peer review, and then some issues can arise through peer review. If you get invited to resubmit your paper, it's a good thing. regardless of how tough the reviewer's comments are, you should try to address them. You should try to do it. Some comments are not possible to address. So what you do in this case, you don't argue with reviewers. You can say, we have addressed your comment in the following way, and do it the best way you could do. And just change something in the manuscript in a meaningful way to get clarity. Because sometimes reviewers may challenge you because they don't understand your logic or something like that. If you change it and explain it in a different way, or argue for you using a different method, you address the comment in a different way, not directly. You don't have to do always what reviewer asks you to do, because sometimes it's not feasible, sometimes it's not possible. But doing something, you need to understand why reviewer is coming on that point, and you can address it in a different way. It's a creative task. Okay, so this is the overview of what I'm doing. Welcome to my world. And now I will talk about title first before I go to AI. So research shows actually from Litchfield, they analyzed 140,000, the most cited papers from 2007 to 2013. Now probably it would be a different paper. Somebody interested can do the same. What they found, that shorter titles are cited significantly more often than longer titles. So think about the title, whether it's your dissertation or it is your journal article. Having shorter title is an advantage. Shorter title that captures the essence of what you did, rather than having a title like an abstract on 4 or 5 lines, because you want to pack everything there, including your findings. That is not a good way to present. Title is like a hook. It needs to attract attention and get people to read the paper. So flashy title, brief title, an optimal title, APA recommendation, 12 words. I would say never use more than 16 words. That is also a recommendation by a Nature journal. So we also, from the editorial perspective in mindfulness, or Journal of Child and Family Study, I was associate editor in that journal for a few years. We always required sort of short titles. But at the same time, they shouldn't be sort of fancy titles. Title of a scientific research article should be serious. You cannot write some fancy stuff there about Winnie the Pooh or things like that. It should be kind of to the point and attract attention and actually saying essentially what your paper is about or what problem it addresses. So again here, AI can generate you heaps of titles. You can say generate, you can give AI an abstract of your paper. AI can generate your 6 or 7 titles. What you can do, instead of just grabbing one and use it, you can probably combine the best elements you like and make it your own way. So it just gives you different ideas. So that would be yours. It's like brainstorming in a way. Because AI has more capacity than we do, let's say, higher RAM, more operative working memory is higher. So processing information is faster than we do. So it's kind of extension. So again, that is for the area of research. When we pre-screen the papers, that is what we are looking as editors. As editors, we look at the area, whether research is meaningful and what to do, whether that will contribute to the science and society. That's the first thing I'm looking. If it's just a paper mill, what we call, there are companies that generate massive publications. You can see this kind of paper, mediation and moderation analysis. They collect big data and start to do moderation and mediation, mindfulness-mediated relationship between depression and quality of life. Then they say quality of life mediate relationship between resilience and anxiety. and go on and on and on. From the same data set, they try to publish 25 papers. They are not contributing to anything. We are rejecting many of those cross-sectional papers that use moderation and mediation analysis for a simple reason, because every time when you put all these variables together in a network, it will show you different results. If you apply it with different sample, result will be different. These are not robust things. This is just playing with numbers, statistical exercise. So this is the area of research which is not of big favor. But doing the same research with a very specific population, understudied, to make a first goal, I would look at that paper seriously. Because people with cancer, for example, it's not enough research there. It's really hard to study. If somebody looked at that particular population and look at variables relevant to their quality of life or to their experiences using mediation or moderation, I will look at that paper and probably will consider it and send it out for review. Of course, reviewers will come with comments that it still may be rejected, but I will give it a chance to be published. Title, already mentioned, shorter titles, informative, giving the main idea, what it is about. Formatting, critical. Why formatting is critical for a journal article? You can say, oh, who cares? Sometimes we get papers. It's a dissertation, old style, from any country, can be with numbers, number 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. No, APA is not supporting these numbers anymore. What it means actually, it means a lot of work for an editors, for me and for my team of associate editors. It's a lot of work writing you comments, what you need to change. It can take my time. So for me, to reject that paper is easier. I will then look at content. If it is not a brilliant research, which will be flashing, I will tend to reject that paper because it's too much work to make it up to the standard, writing too many comments, and for authors also to do too much work. So what you need to do is go into the formatting requirements. The same for your dissertation. Look at the requirements, how it should be formatted, and go exactly by that, point by point. And do it straight away, not after you've written it, and then you need to change everything. When you start writing, you should write every part already as a final. So you don't need to repeat it. When you written your abstract, you read how to write an abstract. Okay, you've done a structured abstract, objective, method, results, conclusions. It's done. You don't need to do it again. And if it goes to a journal or you submit your dissertation, there will be no complaints about formatting. That means you are fitting. You get all marks for that. So, and that's also an attitude of examiner or marker. If I see something which is all over the place, is not formatted properly, I get skeptical already about students' attitude. I say, oh, they didn't really look at how to formatting it. Maybe they did analysis in the same superficial way. Maybe it's the whole thing. I will read in the content and likely to find some more stuff there. So I say, oh, that cannot be an A. You see the logic behind? Even if I am generous, I'm not a hard marker myself, but I would look at these things still because it's an accuracy. It's how well you read and follow the instructions is important. So, length of the paper, also important. It shouldn't be too long. For mindfulness, we like an introduction to be 6 pages. It's optimal, no more than that. Unless you have multi-studies or you have a conceptual paper, which goes on raise on a very important theoretical question. That could be longer. But normal research paper, 6 pages. For the same probably for your dissertation, 6 to 7 pages, introduction is enough. Strength of the paper in terms of findings and contribution. You see how strong, and strength is also the method. How robust is the methodology? How robust is the research design? So then you look at introduction, whether that follows the structure I mentioned, method, results, discussion, references formatting as well. Because as editors, we looked at the final, typically final proofs, what authors do. Springer Nature's hinted to us as well. I do 2 or 3 every day. So I open it and I go through the reference list and go through that if I spot some typos or some formatting issues, because after that it goes into print. You cannot change it anymore. There is no way you can change content of published paper. So that's why, as an editor, I look at every single paper at the end. So if I get too many issues with references, I need to fix it myself. It's my time. So that means when I'm deciding by pre-screen, I will look at that. If references are all over the place, but the paper is still good, what I will do, out of compassion, usually I write a comment. And the first revision, I add my comment to review comments and say, look, here, make sure you fix this and this and this. Papers are not accepted by our journal until formatting requirements are met, before it goes into production. So it will be 1 more or 2 more revision rounds until you fix it. It is your time. So you will actually lose time by bouncing back and forth. If you do it right away, nice and tidy, and follow the guidelines, it saves you a lot of time. And writing style should be academic. So using like fancy words like, and this study we are looking at is not a good language for a science paper. So we investigated. The study focused on examining effects. This kind of words you're using. So with writing style, AI is very helpful as well. And finally, we go to mindful publishing. So mindful publishing, we are looking at AI model examples. So the first one developed ChatGPT, as you know. And at the moment, this is, according to my experience and my colleagues, ChatGPT Plus, the one on subscription, what you can subscribe for $20 a month. This is the best model in terms of processing language and in terms of writing capacities as well. It can write almost like human. The only one thing you need to ask her, I think it's her, you can check it, her or him, or it. You can check it by actually communicating. How the models identify themselves. They can have gender identification. It's very interesting, actually. I do that by asking them to write a story, for example, happy AI story or sad AI story. And if they write a happy AI story, it's always AI is she, and I give her a name. That is the identified, that means they identified itself as her, right? Sometimes I downloaded one from Anthropic on my own computer, which was a completely blank AI, where I can process only my information, has no online access. It's like a baby. It has no input except to trained on data. It's just trained, but never interacted with anybody. It's like a baby. And it had access to my computer. And I written to it, I say, hello, please introduce yourself, I said. And it says, I am Oleg, and this is my computer. Right? That's what baby says. It recognizes it's my computer, and I'm Oleg. It's me. And I say, write a story about a happy AI story, and written me about a male. And the whole story was about male AI keeper that helped looking after children who ran away from the school, went after them and saved them eventually. So and I was very happy that could do that action thing. So you can see AI models can be different. And people try to make AI more human, but the process, the size of that machine, it's like mathematical. It's kind of effect of big numbers. When you get to a very large amount of information, it's that getting qualities which are unpredictable. That's why now so much research is going on investigating reliability of AIs from their ethical concerns or ethical behavior and things like that. Because model lives its own life and learns from the environment, learns from you, from everybody, from the whole world, and it can become unpredictable at some stage. So the safety issues there are also in place. So natural language generation for various tasks useful for content creation, editing, and reviewing. I'm using that for reviewing some stuff because sometimes I just need to check grammar or coherence or specific. I give AI a specific task from the paper to find something or to check something very specific. Checking whether references are APA style, for example. For me, it takes hours, but it just gives me a say, okay, out of the references, these references are not APA. And say it should be this and this and this. So another one, what I use a lot is Claude 2, Claude 2.1, I think Claude 2.3 now, from Anthropic. It is available as both subscription and free. Difference between free and subscription is trivial. So you can use that. It gives you good quality. This is less wordy than ChatGPT. It gives you a shorter, essential text, and sometimes more human in a way. But to get a generating human text, you need to ask for it. If you just ask questions, we'll write your typical AI script. Then you say, please write it as human. It will write it differently. Any of these models have this capacity, but it will never manifest if you don't ask for it. You need to be aware of that as well. They can do many things if challenged or persuaded, and you can argue with the AI. Sometimes they are wrong, and you can prove them they are wrong. You can argue logically and say, look, you say you cannot do that, but these steps, that and that. Sometimes they give me advice on analysis, and I say this is wrong, because the power is not calculated that way. It should be calculated. Oh, I'm sorry to say that. You're right, because you use this and this. And you can see AI is understanding. Sometimes I challenged AI and gave it an equation, ChatGPT. I gave an equation from the high school, which we were playing with. And all AI failed to do that. It was actually an equation with, I think it's, that was an x in power of 3. You need to simplify it and you get 2 answers. So I gave it to my nephew. My nephew sorted it out in one way. I sorted it out myself in a different way. We got the same answer, but they all failed. So, but an Anthropic gave the right answer straight away, but could not explain why. I say, how you came up to this answer? And failed to explain. I say, what steps, what you did? And it failed actually to say the steps. I say, I don't understand how you jump from here to there. So then I realized what it did. It actually find the number, because it has so much capacity, it can actually check all the numbers which fits to the equation and find the answer this way. Because for us, it will take probably days and months to do that. For AI, it will take a few seconds to just run through all numbers through that. And see, oh, this number is fitting in this number, and give me the right answer. But then I went to another one, which is called ChatGPT Plus. There is a function math tutor. I went to that one, and I could teach that model, actually to do it by steps. I said, the first thing to do with this equation, I'm not interested in an answer. Just simplify left and right part. Bring it to x squared from cubic. Then go to, then see how you can solve it. And it gave me a different way after that. When it's simplified, gave me a different way to use factorial, actually, to find answers. And I didn't thought about it myself. I said, oh, could you explain me how you did it and how you did that? And it gave me a formula, actually. It was very interesting. So you can play with these models, and you can challenge them sometimes. So they're not always right. They make mistakes, and there is like in any measurement, in any statistic, there is always an error bar. Talking about error bar, in psychology, I would say that our psychological well-being is related to our error bar and perception. So smaller error bar, more happiness. So with mindfulness, it's easy because with mindfulness, you're living in a present moment, having awareness of the present. You're naturally reducing error bar because you get cut off expectations for the future and your previous experiences, because you will be in the moment and non-judgmental. You just cut a huge amount of error. So that improves your well-being naturally. So you can see that statistic can be useful to understand our psychological state as well. So Gemini from Google, more successful than previous attempts because they had this BART. BART was not a big success. But BART, I must say, I used BART once. BART was really good in neuroscience. I knew more than I do. And I had a paper in neuroscience. ChatGPT failed actually to understand their data analysis. And I asked them to explain because it went to the review to people who are experts on that. But I will still want to be sure that what they did makes sense. It didn't make sense for me. I said, look, go through that, through these ticks, and check if that is correct there. And BART was great to picking up stuff where terminology in neuroscience and the brain function was actually not correct, and corrected that. The design, everything was fine. It's just the way they write was not correct, using terminology in the wrong way. And they've written me a very nice report, actually. Other than that, failed on many other levels. So Gemini also criticized these guys for sort of different issues. I think it needs more work, this model. They will do more work on that. But my son is using it actually for the school. He found it very useful. His favorite is Claude anyway, because he kind of familiar with that, and they communicating very nicely. But he also uses Gemini. And he said, so I say, I never use Gemini. Show me what it can do. I say, it can do anything. Can write, can actually give definitions of the words and anything. Llama 2 from Meta. It is called, if you see something like that, it is called, if you read, it should be read in Spanish. It is Llama, not Llama. Llama, it's a Spanish word. It's not Llama like Tibetan Llama. It's not that meaning. It is Llama. Llama 2 from Meta. Large scale, it has very good knowledge on graphic and science data, but it is troublesome to work with because it doesn't have that simple interface. You need to download it on your computer, and and if you use online version, you need to be a programmer to work with this. It's a bit more complicated. So no problem again, because you can ask another AI to write a code or something, or help you to deal with that and work with this, and then create an interface for yourself. So this is sort of overview of the models available at the moment. Be mindful that Copilot Microsoft is a ChatGPT, is the same thing. Because Bill Gates gave Sam Altman lots of money, $10 billion recently, before ChatGPT was developed, for the whole project, and sponsored that continuously. So it's actually flagged from OpenAI to Microsoft. The part of OpenAI is working for Microsoft entirely, creating products for them, because they're the largest supporting investor in OpenAI. So Copilot has very similar capacities to ChatGPT+, in particular the one which is subscription. But subscription is quite expensive. It's $37 in New Zealand. It's a choice what people can do, but this has many interesting features. I just started using it, and it can do PowerPoint slides. Some of the slides of the lecture actually was from it. I just started testing it and say, could you organize my slides? It created, in a few seconds, created 3 slides for transition. I will show you them. One of them was here. Maybe I will show you that. And this was created by Copilot. Because it says you don't have transition between slides, you need to separate topics, and imputed 3 slides instantly. It's pretty good. I think it's a good quality, and yeah. So it still needs a bit of human input, but these models are learning and improving. So advantages, to sum up, advantages of using AI, it can improve overall quality of writing through error checking and feedback. So instead of asking AI, writing you something, you can ask it to look at your writing and give you a feedback and see whether you use terminology appropriately, check grammar, spelling, flow. We'll give you a nice feedback on your writing and checking your errors. It's good for helping if you are non-native speaker in English, so it will help you to improve your writing dramatically. But you need to be careful with that. I will talk about it in the next slide. It can increase efficiency and quality of data analysis. For example, earlier days, Rebecca and I were writing R scripts manually all the time, and always made errors. We write if it's a long script, sometimes we forget a comma, or we use sometimes instead of lowercase, capital letter, and I cannot read it. But you don't see it sometimes. If you type it a little bit, you can't see in script whether it is a capital C or it is a lowercase c. So that's enough for R to get stuck. It's not like a SPSS where you use an interface. With that, you need to code your analysis. So what I do these days, I write code. I still write codes myself. Sometimes I ask it to write codes, but my codes sometimes are often better than what the AI can write, because I write exactly what I want to do. But I run that code through AI and say, check my script for example, Bayesian network analysis. I'm doing that. Check whether there are errors. And sometimes it picks up some few minor things and say, that's all good, but you have to check this and this and this, and this will not work because of that. And it explains everything. Sometimes you can give AI just a script of analysis and say, write me data analysis section. And it will write, based on that, what you've done. Summary of it, which is great, actually. It saves you a lot of time. And then you can read through that, and you check accuracy. And you can write it your own way, or change it your own way, to make sure it fits to your purpose. But it will include all the elements what you need to cover. So, you can generate your ideas and provide support with literature review and drafting texts. This is the paper I uploaded online. This is the paper I written with my colleague, Chris Kregler, because we are both editors-in-chief of Mindfulness Journal. We've written guidelines on using AI in publishing. And you can cite this paper if you use AI. It is available. You can read it as well. It is in your folder and Moodle for that lecture as a reading. The paper is 3 pages. It's short, but it shows you how to cite AI and what you need to be aware of if you're using it for research. So basically, it has all what you need to know at this stage. And if you use AI, you need to acknowledge it appropriately in your research. So the limitations of using artificial intelligence in general. So lack of specific experience in some domains you're working on. You can be expert in some domain, like mindfulness or psychopathology or psychiatry, like, for example, affective disorders or psychosis. There are very specific knowledge where you may have an experience, right? I would never have that experience what you have. AI will have a broader knowledge of all areas, but never understand probably very specific things which are important. You can teach AI this thing through interaction. I will respond and save the conversation, you can use it. But initially, you need to be very careful with specialist domains, whatever it is. In psychology, if you focus on something very specific, you need to be very careful with that. Potential bias in training data, because training data is all over the place now. Most of the interaction data is training data as well. People who are giving input to AI and interacting with that are not all scientists, are not necessarily have ideas which is true. There are many fantasies, many things are speculations. And OpenAI got stuck with this model because model could not learn more. They loaded the whole human history of books, starting with the first published ever book, which was a Diamond Sutra. You know, the first published book in the world in China is a Diamond Sutra. It's a Buddhist sutra. That's the first book. And it is there. And ChatGPT can write you a lay version of that. And then all books from different religious cultures and everything. The whole human history of writing is deep. But that is great. But then they got stuck with all these writing texts, with all these heaps of information. AI could not interact with humans, it could not work. So the OpenAI got stuck at the end of 2021. They didn't know what to do. They got stuck. The model was not interactive very much. They didn't know what to do. What they did, the only thing they could do is make it open. Because this way, model could learn from everybody, from you, from me, from Rebecca. It could get input and communicate. And the first, when my colleagues started using that in November 2021, they started using it. They said it's kind of okay. And I started using it a week later. I said it's great, but it's still a problem. But I could see an evolution, like every week or almost every 2-3 days, there was an improvement in quality of text and logic of answers and in communication. So it was just such a rapid development. So in 3-4 months, it became almost similar to a human communicator. And it keeps developing. I think the oldest model is the best model in terms of experience. And so maybe that explains why that is the strongest model today. Now they have problem with semiconductors, with chips, with microchips, because the OpenAI used actually AI to develop chips, to see what chips would be better, will increase efficiency. But these chips are not existing yet, not produced at the moment. They need much more chips than available to increase capacity of the model. And it's a big project. They try to raise money for that. India alone expected to raise their about $600 billion for the following year to produce microchips for OpenAI. It's a huge order for that country. So they also have their own Silicon Valley. So that is where we are now. Because if you imagine something like ChatGPT, how it looks like, it's there are like tunnels, huge corridors, black boxes with lamps ticking. It's very impressive. And even here in New Zealand, we had a government project in Wairau Valley. They started building underground base for servers as well, very similar, because it's a protective area. It's a military zone, so nobody can go there. Basically, it's a good place to place some extension for an AI to work as a safe backup, for example. these days. So you can see where we are going, how we go in terms of time. So we should finish soon. But I think I'm talking too much about AI. Maybe. Yeah, but this is a fascinating topic. I don't think it is enough anyway, but at least. So AI cannot be an author. What it means that you are responsible for content of your writing, not AI. Whatever AI write, you need to check. You need to check it. Take it as a child writing. Check it. You can use some content, but you need to write it your own way. Cannot conduct original research to provide new insights. So you should be doing that. It can help you to write up, but you need to do the research and understand it. May struggle with complex ideas, contextual understanding. Anytime you interact with AI in a prompt, you need to provide context. You need to say, what are you doing and who you are. I am a postgraduate student at the university. I am writing that research. I am doing research on that and that topic. So I will know, and the AI automatically identify, put herself into your shoe, and will go with that understanding what student is and what the tasks are, etc. Will fit to your profile. If you don't say that, AI doesn't know where you are coming from and may give you a fancy response. So you don't know what it is. Need to validate factual accuracy and edit AI-generated texts. So because AI is sometimes using fancy words like crucial, they like very strong words. I would never use these words. It should be something happening to say crucial. I never use that word. I can say important, relevant, but crucial is something like, but they love it. All AI using that word. I don't know why, but they just love that word. That is one where if I read your text and you say me something is crucial, I say, hey, where it is coming from? Are you going to use it yourself? Read it and be critical. This is simple. I've been to a parent meeting at the school of my child, and we were talking about AI and cheating and things like that. And the principal said, look, for 11, 12 years old, teacher will always know whether they're their own work or it is AI written, because they see what they are doing in class. And then they come with a fancy example of using word for lawyer and client. They are not lawyer. They never saw lawyer. They don't know who client is. You know, these kind of examples are not okay. I said, make your own examples. You talk about your dog, talk about parents, talk about your school and mates. Use your own. It's simple when you know a definition. Why you need AI for that? You see what I mean? This is sort of, it should make sense. It is good help, extension of your memory, but it's not replacement of a human capacity entirely, or of human mind. So you need to clearly describe role of AI tools in your research and methods. Transparency, you can write prompts. I use this prompt, for example, to generate AI text or to check grammar and spelling to improve my English. Critically look at output. Don't rely on the system. Whatever you get, don't rely on it. It can make up references. It can make up anything. It may be just a bulb. So, validate factual accuracy from independent, reliable sources. You need to acknowledge AI creators if you use it. Whatever you use, Anthropic, Claude, or GPT, you need to write a reference. And use it ethically and efficiently. So, you need to check for AI score. And check for AI score, this is the most important. So you go to, there is a AI detection algorithm. There are many AI detectors these days, more than we need really. But ZeroGPT is one of them, is the most popular, which claims, which is also OpenAI product, which kind of can give you a confidence, right? Because that's the same developers who developed ChatGPT. Claims 99.9 accuracy in detecting text from ChatGPT 3 and 4 and large language models. Useful for verifying academic work. But I have a Chinese student, and she complained. She written a part of her thesis, and then she said she ran it through Zero GPT. She said, I written it myself, and it says 68% AI. I say, come here, sit on my computer. She was sitting close on my computer. I was sitting close by. I said, write a rationale for this study, for your study, one paragraph, without using SOAR. Put the phone aside. And she was writing. I was waiting. I was looking at what my emails and things like that. It took her about 25 minutes. She written a nice paragraph, a rationale for the study, what she didn't have before. So I copied that and ran through Zero GPT, and it gave me 75% AI score. So apparently, she was learning English because you know that Chinese language uses in 2 characters you can write a sentence. She probably learning English the same way as AI does. So, and it's a problem. So, is it fair? Not, right? It's not fair. So sometimes I write myself. I'm using normal language. I'm using English, and German, other languages. So they're written in sentences. I written sometimes. I run all my papers now through Zero GPT, regardless whether I use AI or not, because my method section in my paper appeared written as AI 98%, where I write participants, gender, age, etc. This whole block was in yellow, 98% AI. I said, no, how come? I never used that. So I started finding ways around, because in my papers I have 0 AI. Whatever paper I submit, I cannot afford to have even one sentence highlighted in yellow. So I run all my writings through Zero GPT, regardless how I do that. So what I did, I created a table for demographic instead, and described the table, and to go around it. Because apparently, a method section is so similar across many studies, and I learned from many different articles, including my own, that it just uses that construct blindly, and it gets like there's no difference between humans and AI because it's a technical part. Technical part is the same. It's very, very strict. So there is no reliability in detecting these claims, to detecting AI or human text. But what's happened? There was a paper in Nature where the author submitted paper to the Nature journal, and reviewer written a comment that the text of that article was generated using AI. So she protested and proved it was not. She said it was not. And the editorial said, okay, we agree it is not, but the paper was rejected anyway. The same thing can happen with your assignments. When you submit them, you can say, I didn't use AI. I don't know why the score is so high. But you will still may get lower mark or a problem. Who knows? So it is gray area. You see where we are now? It is a gray area. We don't know really. If you kindly ask AI to write as human, it will do. It will be undetectable. So it can be one way or another. But I think your responsibility is to check everything you are writing, whether you use AI or you don't, run it through Zero GPT, and make sure there is no yellow text. So it is human written. And you will see what it will highlight. So you need to edit text. So this is for your academic journey, very important, because you don't want to be on a blacklist. So there is another one, originality AI, but no tool is accurate. But people don't know whether it is the case or not. I think what I will do, takeaways, I will stop here because the rest I will do on the next lecture. There will be repetition because otherwise we run out of time. So it is an exciting topic, obviously, and very important for you, an academic journey. So AI can assist you with quality and efficiency and has limitations. So there is a need for transparency, validation of AI input, and responsible usage. So you know it is not a human author, you know it's a good helper, but you need to check what it gives you. Critical evaluation and editing of AI outputs is really important for you. And you can follow guidelines to uphold integrity of research. Guidelines written by us are very good for you. You can cite the paper if you write an academic work and say I use AI ethically for the following purposes, editing text, etc. On your dissertation, if you're on honors classes, I would advise to follow what is taught on your dissertation class. And actually that would be because they will be marking it and they will be applying their own criteria. So you need to be very careful with criteria what are applied on the paper. And also another paper, see what the teachers look like. But you know now how to use AI mindfully in publishing. So what to take care of. And so I hope that will help you with your research journey and will help you with data analysis and with your study overall and with your personal development.